Heading into the New Hampshire primary in 2016, Donald Trump did not have the endorsement of a single sitting member of Congress. And today, Donald Trump has the endorsement of more than 100 Republican members of the House. He has the endorsement of 25 Republican senators, which means nearly half of all the Republicans in Congress have endorsed Donald Trump. They're all just waving the white flag on this one. At this point, the only thing standing between Trump and total victory over his party is the long-shot candidacy of former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. But in order to beat Donald Trump, Nikki Haley probably has to run against Donald Trump. For the last year, Governor Haley has offered one canned line whenever she is asked about Trump.
I agree with a lot of his policies. But the truth is, rightly or wrongly, chaos follows him.
I agree with a lot of his policies. But the reality is, rightly or wrongly, chaos follows him.
I agree with a lot of Trump's policies, and chaos follows him.
Haley is now essentially in a one-on-one battle here. She's being given every opportunity to contrast herself with Trump's increasingly lawless and authoritarian tendencies. So how did she respond today?
Donald Trump has said on day one, for a day, he'll be a dictator. What sort of alarm bells does that ring, and how would you respond if he was in front of you?
I mean, look, I voted for Trump twice. I agree with a lot of his policies. I've said it over and over again. Rightly or wrongly, chaos follows him.
Nikki Haley was literally asked about something that Donald Trump said he plans to do, to turn America into a dictatorship for a day. And even then, the only critique that she was willing to make of a self-proclaimed would-be dictator was a swipe at his personal shortcomings, which, by the way, may not even be his fault. He's just followed by chaos, rightly or wrongly. To the extent that Nikki Haley had any substantive criticism of her opponent today, this was pretty much it.
He needs to answer the question, why does he want to raise the propose a 25-cent gas tax increase? Why did he put us $8 trillion in debt over 4 years? I want those questions asked. Get him on a debate stage.
Those are the issues Haley thinks Trump needs to answer for. The gas tax, the deficit, and a proposal on raising the retirement age that is basically indistinguishable from Haley's own proposal to do the same. Nikki Haley is categorically either unable or unwilling to take Donald Trump on regarding the issues that actually animate the Republican electorate right now, thanks in large part to Donald Trump. The explicit racism, the xenophobia, the misogyny. All of which are issues that Nikki Haley, more than anyone else, is in a position to talk about. She is a woman of color. She is the daughter of immigrants. She was the governor of South Carolina during one of the worst white supremacist attacks in that state's modern history, and she responded to that attack by removing the Confederate flag from the state capitol, recognizing in so doing that symbols of racism were embedded in America's culture and its history, and that those symbols needed to be removed. It is a moment tailor-made for Nikki Haley to distinguish herself from the former president, the man who once said of violent white supremacists, there are good people on both sides. And yet, just weeks after failing to identify slavery as the cause of the Civil War, Nikki Haley went on live television and said this.
We're not a racist country, Brian. We've never been a racist country. Our goal is to make sure that today is better than yesterday. Are we perfect? No. But our goal is to always make sure we try and be more perfect every day that we can.
Nikki Haley's omissions about slavery and racism may be just errors, but they are probably actually a tacit acknowledgement that whitewashing history and excusing racism are the things that power a sizable portion of the Republican base in the era of Trump, the base whose support she needs to win.